Region Review.
The Ragin' Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Ragin' Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's that team ready? Who's that team ready? That's up.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to another edition, I guess I should say a special edition of the Ragin' Review podcast. It is, of course, your boy Nick here, along with Jerry. What is up, G? How you doing today, man?
It's been a while. I'm getting better.
Yeah.
I struggled a little bit last week, had some other obligations, but enjoyed Mardi Gras. Got to enjoy a little bit of sports during the week. And of course, you guys did a great job holding the fort down last Friday. And of course, yesterday with you and Lane. But it's good to be back. So,
Jerry, I love you like a brother, but I hate when you say hold the fort down. And I think you know that.
I know. It's just, I do it subconsciously. Sometimes I'll say things without even thinking about it.
I'm just messing with you.
It's up to you guys, like you, to catch it.
I know. Dude, I have nothing else to say today. It's been a good day, so I had to give you some kind of crap, right?
I know. It's been a great day.
It has been a good day. Obviously, as we teased all day long, we had a great conversation with LSU head softball coach Beth Torina. Have a special guest that joins us midway through the interview. So you definitely want to see that. And of course, Quantas White, Jerry, we're going to, I guess, touch on that a little bit after we're done with this, because I want your thoughts on this big hire announcement, I guess you can say, that came out today. So we'll talk about that once this interview is wrapped up. But if you're good to go, let's go ahead and get started with an interview. You good, brother?
Yeah, as Poo-Poo Broussard would say, man, roll that action.
Let's get to it. All right, we are very excited to have the pleasure of being joined by head coach for the LSU Lady Tigers softball team, Coach Beth Torina. Coach, this is really an honor and a privilege to have you on our show. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
I feel like I'm breaking some rules here or something with all this red surrounding me on this show here. This is like against my beliefs here. You know, this is 14 years and I'm brainwashed. We don't even own red in our house. My kids don't own red. We don't own red. So I feel like it's sacrilegious this morning.
We feel the exact same, but we'll make an exception today. And actually, you mentioning that, Coach, let's talk about Cajun softball. And because there is a question I wanted to ask, and I was trying to figure out how to frame it. But you were at Houston as an assistant, and I think you knocked us out of a regional or a super regional while there. You were at FIU as a head coach there in the Sun Belt Conference. You've been coaching, I think this is your 15th year at LSU. Do you consider, and this is personally and as an LSU Tiger, do you consider the Cajun softball team a rivalry at this point?
Well, I can tell you they've been haunting me personally for a very, very long time. So I know it's an incredible program, so much history. I mean, starting with Coach Girouard, who is, you know, my greatest mentor here, of course. I mean, I sit right next to the deck named after her. Her name's right here on the wall. And she really is softball in the state of Louisiana, right? So I know what she's built, and the program that they have there is just so incredible. So I think anybody in the country would respect what has happened and what is currently happening there.
And look, we have been through several coaches in the last few seasons. You know, through all those changes, we continue at Louisiana to compete at a high level against really the best teams in the country, such as an LSU and other SEC teams. What do you think the key to success has been through all of those changes for us? Typically, that would kind of hinder a program from growth, but you've really seen over the past few years, even through all those changes, Louisiana still kind of, you know, has managed to still be in that conversation as far as it goes in a national level perspective.
Yeah, I keep going back to it, but I think it's just a rich history and tradition of just an incredible program. I mean, a College World Series program, a program that's done so many things. So I just think there's such a tradition that I'm sure players want to go there and people want to be a part of it. And I mean, the coaches you've had have been no slouch, man, some great ones, right? So I'm sure these are coaches people want to play for, coaches they know are going to be competitive and are going to keep holding the program at the highest standard. I'd have to mention one of my favorite coaches in the country, coaches there now, Shelby Sinceri. So she's one of my favorite softball coaches in the country. I think she's pretty special. So I think you guys have an incredible staff, and it's going to be fun to see them this week. Can't wait to give Shelby a big hug.
You can't have her. Sorry, she's ours now.
I was about to say it was crazy for so many years seeing Shelby pitch against us, right? And in regionals and big games. But now seeing her, I got to say, she looks good in red. She looks good in red. I'm happy to see she's on our side now. But no, she was, I mean, I know she played for you and she was a great player. And when we hired her, I was like, oh, all right. That's, obviously if she can coach like she pitches, I think we'll be in good shape. Anyway, Coach, let's talk about your team a little bit. Going into this game, LSU continues to be one of the top softball programs in the country. You've done a fantastic job there. And you definitely had a great weekend. You were 4-0 against a really good South Alabama team, who, of course, we're very familiar with. You played really, really well against Minnesota, and you scored a total of 40 runs, and you only gave up 6 runs in those 4 games. So let's talk a little bit about your offense. Danica Coffey and Avery Hodge, really good weekend at the plate. We can go down the roster. We can go down the lineup to find. It's kind of hard to find a player hitting under 300 on your team. But what is it that makes your team so dominant offensively? And you haven't even hit the gauntlet of the SEC yet, but yet you're off to a great start. And offensively, you're just tearing it up right now. What factors go into that?
Yeah, I'm really proud of this team. It's been fun coaching them. Kind of was a lot of just uncertainty going into this year, with the graduating class that we had and just a bunch of mainstays in our program for so long. Some of them for 5 and 6 years had been on the field. So, but it's been cool seeing this group live up to the bill, and just exciting. Everything they do seems exciting because it's sometimes somewhat unexpected at times, with just their youth. But, Bryce Neal's taken over our offense this year, and Sandra, Zach, our other assistant, Taylor Pleasance, they all assist him. But the culture he's imparted, the way he's managed this group, the athleticism of this group, I think is a huge part of it. They're very speed-based, so everybody through the lineup, 1 through 9, can run, which is fun. So they can make a lot of things happen. They can turn singles into doubles, and Avery Hodge can turn them into triples, apparently. But, I think just the way they are competing as athletes has been really fun to see, and just the culture that he's imparted in them. They've been a lot of fun.
So I got to ask, Coach, when you have an offense where you have that much weaponry, right, and you have hitters, runners, does it sometimes become a detriment because you don't – I know the big talk, especially when it comes to putting in a lineup, is who do I start? Who do I play? Going into conference, do you feel like with the offensive production, you've been able to tweak your lineup a little bit to give more players a chance to play? Or is it kind of one of those things where you're like, I like my 1 through 9 and this is what I'm comfortable with? How do you determine a lineup like that when you have that much talent?
Yeah, I think we have some spots where we can match up according to the pitching that we're going to see. Like if somebody's well suited for that pitching, it's nice to have left-handers and right-handers on your bench. As you can look at the splits and some things from different pitchers and make a decision based on how they perform against lefties, righties, different types of pitch profiles, things like that. So it is nice having the ability to match up with a deep bench, and we do have that for sure.
I'm going to interrupt this, Coach Torina, because there's something I wanted to, you talked a little bit about the legendary Beth Girouard earlier. We just happen to have her here to say hello to you, Coach. And first of all, Coach Girouard, welcome to the Rage and Review podcast. We're happy to have you. Coach Torina, we thought, what better way to say, we're putting out a hand in friendliness than to have one of our legendary coaches on both sides of the line here for you today. So, Coach Yvette, welcome to Rage and Review.
Well, thank you, and good morning to all of you.
She looks better in red than me, for sure. For sure. She could pull off the whole color wheel. I don't think it's in mine. So
I mean, to be fair, we call her the godmother of Raging Cajun softball, and we have a stadium named after her. So I mean, at this point, it's like,
legendary. Those are
the
big shoes to
godmother
fill.
of softball in the entire state.
That is true.
Beyond.
Very true.
So
Yeah.
she is softball in the state of Louisiana. I've said it 100 times, and I'll continue to.
No doubt about it.
Well, Coach Girouard, we're going to get to you in a second, so don't go anywhere. But Lane, go ahead, and I know you had a couple questions for Coach Torina, and we'll circle back on this.
Coach, entering conference play and being in the SEC, LSU has a grueling schedule, and it kicks off Friday versus Kentucky. Conference play is a whole different world. Its programs tend to know each other very well and are able to adjust to tendencies and players they've faced in the past. How are you preparing your team for the first conference series of the year?
I think we're excited. I mean, that was kind of the message to the team post game on Sunday. It's like, if you're not excited about this week, getting to play a team from down the road that's, always gives us a ball game, and then getting to play Kentucky in the opening SEC weekend, you need to check your pulse, because this is a big week for LSU softball. So the one nice thing about the weekend is we don't have to do a scout on 5 teams. We only have to scout one opponent. So that's kind of a breath of fresh air around here. We've been burning the midnight oil a bit around here, working late hours trying to get scouts ready for all these different teams. So, just having the 2 teams this week, I know my staff's happy. Of course, it's a huge challenge, but it's one that we're excited about. And, one feels like a new part of the season starting. And I like all the things our team's accomplished to this point.
And speaking of conference play, do y'all typically try to prepare differently in conference play versus non-conference?
I would say no.
The same?
Yeah, I would say we prepare the same. Of course, we have more time. It'll be a more in-depth version of what we're doing. Sometimes we have to be pretty surface level, like I said, getting ready. I mean, the week in California where we had 5 teams, we had to go on the road on Wednesday. That was a short week of prep. So a little bit of that is just doing it live, like getting in there and like, hey, who is this? What does she throw? We don't know. Just hit it, ladies. Here we go. But I think when we're playing a conference opponent, we'll know about all their pitchers. We'll know about their entire lineup and even the people on their bench, and we'll have a full scout, and we'll have more time to be prepared for that.
Switching gears to Louisiana, as we mentioned before, you are very familiar with UL and the softball program as a whole. But this time we have a new coach in Allison Habits. With a new head coach, does that change your game plan at all going into tomorrow night's game?
Well, I like I said, I just kind of dove into them a little bit last night. I haven't done all my research, but I do see some differences. I think they use their short game and speed a little bit more than in the past, probably. I think they've run more. So, like I said, I haven't done my full dive yet. That's on the schedule for today. But I know she's a great coach. She's also a great human being. I mean, I just have a long history with her being in the SEC, and she's just been a great friend, and just is an incredible human. She's one of my mom's favorite coaches. When my mom was sick, she wrote her this incredible letter, and my mom's never forgotten it. It's meant the world to her. So I know my mom will be looking to get a big hug from her when we play them this week.
Coach, as you probably you already know, with Coach Glasgow leaving, we have had a lot of roster turnover with the portal, NIL. A lot of our players from last year had transferred over to different schools. Coach Habits, I mean, for her to put together a team the way she has, they're still growing and they're still learning, but they pulled off a big win against Alabama this weekend. And she's really, I mean, Cajun fans, we're very excited at the fact that she's been able to put a roster together to compete with the circumstances. I know you said you haven't looked at anybody in particular to plan for the game, but are there players that were on the team last year that you're familiar with, that you're kind of putting a star next to say, hey, I remember her, I got to keep an eye on her, and to prepare for this matchup? Well,
I'll be honest. I thought there was even more turnover than there was. Like when I looked at them last night, I was like, we still have Hayden, we still have Vasquez, we still have Lainey, I don't know if I'm going to say her name right, Creeder. I mean, there's still a lot of familiar faces and really good softball players in this group and really good hitters. So I think that their lineup is a little more intact than even I was prepared for. And some of those guys, Falterman, like they're still doing really good things. I know Hayden must be having a great year because on film already, she's been doing some cool stuff and just using all of her tools maybe more than in the past a little bit. So I think she's got some players with some experience, and it seems like she's getting the most out of them for sure.
All right, now the fun part. We're going to get Coach Girouard involved because I have a question for both of you ladies. First of all, for you, Coach Torina, and then we'll segment that into another question. NIL, I think, I don't know if this was necessarily the case. I know Coach Glasgow did say this upon leaving, that NIL at Texas State, much bigger budget there. Let's talk about NIL. Obviously, for a program like Louisiana, it's tough for us because you've got to find the money that for a program that is, while it is nationally recognized, we don't necessarily have the level of donors that, let's say, an LSU and Alabama and SEC team has. But from your perspective, how has that changed the way that you recruit, that you coach to your players, that you retain talent? What is your strategy in this new world of NIL?
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of new challenges, and I'll be honest, we're trying to figure it out every day here too. We're trying to understand best practices and so many cool opportunities in front of these women that weren't there before, right? The opportunity to make money based on their abilities and their talents, and to be paid. And my goodness, they're so deserving because they're so talented and they work so hard. So a lot of these challenges that are in front of the coaches are really cool things for the athletes. And I think we have to embrace that and think about the opportunity that is in front of them. So yeah, it's a challenge, but also I think if you see the other side of it, it's really something that these women deserve.
Totally agree. Do you look at it more from a retention standpoint or a recruiting standpoint?
I would say you have to use it for both. I think it's involved in all the conversations at this point.
Coach Girouard, you didn't have to deal with NIL back in the day,
Yeah.
I mean, how does, I guess my question to you is, would you still be coaching in this world of NIL because it is such a different world? Nope. Yeah, I figured that.
Too old school. It would be really hard for me, especially at this age, to adjust to that. I'm not a fan of the transfer portal. I'm not a fan of NIL.
Why do you think we've gotten to this point? Do you think it's because they deserve to get paid for so long and they didn't? Or do you think this is just a political thing? I mean, it seems like people are playing political games with the future and the money of young, ladies and gentlemen's talents and their money. They're playing with it and kind of going back and forth on how to handle it. I don't know. It seems a little more political than it is the good of the athlete.
That's probably true somewhat. It's just, I saw it as a nightmare from the very beginning because there's no real guidelines. As Beth says, they're still navigating it. They just went out there and just threw it out there and said, navigate it as you will. I was like, there was no parameters. If it was really about NIL, name, image, and likeness, it's so far from that. It's not even in the same realm.
So a little birdie put it in my head recently that someone might be calling the game tomorrow night against UL and LSU. I don't know who that might be, but historically you have been, on the color side of things. How on earth do you separate being the coach of two teams that you love dearly? How do you keep that bias out of calling a game? Because I mean, maybe it's easier because you do love both teams and it's easy to say, oh, that was a great play on either side. Kind of, how do you handle that?
Actually, I'm not calling the game. I'll be there in attendance in white. I'm Switzerland in this contest all the time. Actually, I can't win for losing in this argument. If I talk to Cajuns, I got Tigers mad at me. If I talk too much about the Tigers, I got Cajuns mad at me. So I go to the game. I'll go to the game tomorrow night as a spectator and sit on my hands in case I applaud the wrong team in the spectator's eyes.
Hey, I understand that.
Technically, you could just clap at everything, just the whole time you're just
There you
clapping.
go.
Because
There
I'm
you
just
go.
going to clap for all good plays. So,
everything, yeah. And somebody else gets an out, a hit. But Coach Girouard, I do want to ask you, when you started out at UL or USL back in the 1980s, I mean, you were playing in an empty field. You had to build your own park. It was such a big thing when we got Lady Cajun Softball Park in the early 90s. Seeing what softball has become today and seeing how much it's grown over the past 30 or 40 years, when you were coaching in the 1980s and seeing what softball is now, did you ever envision it to get as big as it has? And it's still growing. It's still getting bigger and bigger. You're seeing schools put in millions of dollars in investments in facilities. I mean, was that something you envisioned back in the 80s when you coached at USL?
Well, of course not. Who could envision that? We always knew TV was the last frontier for us, and that's what's really put it over the top. But, I used to speak everywhere in Lafayette, and we did a 50 punch ticket. If you bought a season ticket, you could come 50 times. You could use it as like you wanted. If you wanted to go to one game with 50 people, that was it. But I used to tell people, come one time. And if you don't fall in love with what you see, I will give you your money back. And no one ever asked me for my money back. And it's, it's just a game you fall in love with. It's fast. The players are close to you. So you see their faces, you see their emotions. I mean, I said this last night on the broadcast with LSU. I said, I knew we made it when I saw little boys at the ballpark lining up to get the girls' autographs.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I do. Look, you're bringing up memories for me, Coach Girouard, because I worked with Coach Robichaux as a student worker back in the day. I actually, because baseball had the same ticket thing, I actually dropped off some of those tickets for you, different places around Acadiana and Coach Robichaux back in the day. So that brought back some good memories of Coach Robichaux.
Thank you for doing that.
You're very welcome. All right, one last question for both of you ladies. Jerry and Lane, I'll give you the last word as well. Coach Allison Habits, obviously, we all love her. We think she's a great fit for the program, and I think based on the circumstances that she came into, it's going to take a little bit to get that cohesiveness. But I think we got off to a good start this year, and also against Alabama, that was a big win for us on Saturday. I'll start with you, Coach Torina. If you have one or two words, I was going to say word association. Give me one word, but you can give a couple. Allison Habits. What is one or two words that you would use to describe her?
Oh, that's tough. I can't use one or two words, but I mean, I think her skill is being able to relate to people. I mean, she has people skills that are off the chart, and her empathy and care for those that she's around is just unmatched. So I think it would be hard for her to be unsuccessful with how much she cares and the passion that she brings to any program.
So we'll say caring and passionate. Those are two really good words for you.
Love it.
Coach Girouard, we'll turn it over to you. Your thoughts?
I think she's the salt of the earth, she came back. I asked her to take this job, and she asked me if I would come help her. And I said, oh, no, I can't win in this battle. If I do this, no way. But no, she came back to help with her mom so that she could allow her mother to live as long as she possibly could, healthy. And she wanted to include her mom in the program just like my mom was. And so I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, just salt to the earth.
That is the epitome of a Cajun. You take care of your mama and your daddy.
That's
we all
right.
Know that. Jerry, any final thoughts for these two legends before we close it out?
I just want to say thank y'all so much for spending your time to come join us. And, we always look forward to the UL LSU softball matchup. It's always an event for us. And Coach Torino, I will say straight up, thank you so much for doing the home and home, because I think that's great for the state of Louisiana and great for softball. These two teams, every time we match up, it's always intense. I'm sure as a coach, every time you play the Cajuns, it's every pitch matters. And so I look forward to another matchup like that this week. And I'm gonna say it, but because you came on with us, best of luck to you, except for when we play you. I will say that.
I'm sure you're going to see a great ball game on Tuesday. Neither of us ever seem to fall short in that. It'll be a great game.
Thank you, Coach.
Lane, final thoughts?
I just appreciate you coming on, and I'm looking forward to the matchup tomorrow, and then when we play at a Girouard field as well.
This has been awesome, y'all. Like I can't thank you enough, Coach Torina and Coach Girouard. I mean, this was like a Sunday, like, hey, by the way, you want to surprise Coach Torina tomorrow. So this was really an honor and a pleasure to have both of you on today. Thank you so much. And like Jerry said, outside of our game tomorrow night, and of course when we visit you ladies, best of luck the rest of the season. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd do anything for Beth Torina. Thank you.
Thank you.
How awesome was that, Jerry? How much fun was that this morning, man?
I'm just, watching the interview and listening, it's so cool how gracious both of these softball legends were to come in here, spend the morning with us. And really, I think it's the importance of getting the word out on how important college softball has become. I mean, you've got two coaches from two different eras, right? I mean, and that's why I brought up the question of Coach Yvette Girouard. For a lot of fans who don't know, Yvette Girouard Field at Lamson Park and Lady Cajun Softball Park next to Bourgeois Hall was not always our stadium. If you were around in the 1980s, just a little history lesson, the original stadium was at the corner of Bertrand and Reinhardt, right in front of that marquee. So when you drive by and you see those oak trees, and I think there's that, what is it? The
shot put thing?
Shot put?
Yes.
Yeah. That was home plate, wasn't it? I believe
I believe you are correct.
Around that area. And Coach Girouard had to get chicken wire. She had to get some volunteers to put like some temporary bleachers and temporary benches for her dugouts and some chalk. And they made a softball park. And seeing where our program started there and having to grind with no money, with nothing basically, and build it into the dynasty that our softball program had become. And then you see an era of Coach Torino. You see somebody who grew with the sport. Now she's at a school where you asked her about NIL at LSU, and now they have to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions to get athletes to play there. They've got Lady Tiger Park, which is a beautiful palace that they have. And you see two different eras of coaches in softball, but it's really it signifies what softball has become in the last decade or so, and the money that's being poured into the program. What was really cool interviewing both of these coaches was just kind of understanding the evolution of college softball and what it is today. Coach Yvette made a point about TV, the biggest thing for them and the biggest mark on their sport was TV. And I mean, you see it now. I mean, you can't go on ESPN without missing a softball game. So really, really great insight from both coaches. Such a pleasure to meet Coach Torina. Even though we're fierce rivals in softball, it was just so gracious of her to come spend some time with us and talk about her program. Obviously, the UL LSU softball matchup is always a blast. So I hope this isn't the first. I hope this isn't the last time. I hope we get to do this again. It was a lot of fun.
No, I agree, man. I was getting the free songs watching it back because, 10 years ago, having Coach Girouard on this show would not have happened. There was a lot of animosity, I think, from a lot of old school fans, and maybe not even the fans. Maybe it was those running the program at the time. Just a lot of animosity. Didn't want her to come back. She wasn't really invited or welcomed back. And I think, time passed and was gracious to her, and now the field is named after her. 10 years ago, this wouldn't have happened. But looking at how happy she was and how quickly when I tell you, Jerry, I messaged her, I DM'd her, and within 20 seconds, she didn't ask any questions. She says, what time is it, and how do I join? Like, that's how much she really does love the program. And hell, it hurt my feelings when she left USL back in the day to go to LSU. But you have to also think, look at what they provided to her to build that program versus what she had to fight against. Like you're talking about having to go out and hustle for chicken wire. She didn't have to worry about that at LSU. All she had to worry about was coaching and recruiting. And I think as time passed, cooler heads prevailed, that our fans understood that. But it is just so great to have her back as a small piece of this program still to this day. That's amazing, right?
And also too,
and before you go, and also her mentioning, she was a part of Allison Habits coming to Lafayette, That tells you how much she is still ingrained in our culture here in Lafayette. It's amazing, man. I
and there was a previous interview a few years back where she really got into detail about the animosity of leaving UL to go to LSU. And let's be honest, LSU like quadrupled her salary or something like that. And they basically said, we're going to triple or quadruple your salary. And all of the work you have to do behind the scenes at UL, you don't have to do over here. All you got to do is coach. Who would say no to that? And I'm saying this on Rage and Review on our podcast. Like, you got to watch out for your family. You got to watch out for your career becomes a factor there. Putting food on the table becomes a factor there over your fandom of your school. I mean, so I totally get it. I mean, it hurts. It stings. It stung when that happened, but I get it. And she had mentioned a while back, and it really struck me. Like, I was like, wow, it was so hard for her at the time because of all the animosity with what happened and sort of the really bad breakup. She said she couldn't even drive down Cajun Dome Boulevard past the softball stadium because it was just so hard to do that. And now it's so great because it's come full circle. Now she doesn't have a choice because that softball stadium that she had a hard time passing is now named after her. So it's just so cool how that's come full circle and how, time heals. And I'm just so happy that Yvette's been able to come back and, like she said, she's Switzerland in the matchup. It's so great. But it's like I told her, I was like, look, you can clap just at everything. Every little thing at the game, you're just clapping the whole time.
Just clap the whole game.
Clap the whole game. I mean, but it's so cool because, there's no doubt that Coach Beth Torina, I mean, she said it, Coach Yvette Girouard was one of her big mentors. Of course, Coach Girouard was her predecessor before taking the job at LSU. And it's just so neat I wish we could have had much more time to hear those stories about how softball grew in the state of Louisiana. You had two fan bases 45 minutes away from each other that are very passionate about the sport. Every time we play them in a regional or even tomorrow, there's going to be a lot of red at Tiger Park. So this is something I think it's necessary. Like I told Coach Torina in the interview, thank you for doing the home and home. I think that's very important for them to come to Yvette Girouard Field as well as us go play in Baton Rouge. And I think it's good for the state. I think it helps everybody, just as much as it helps us playing them. I'm sure us playing them helps them as well. So, I'm looking forward to a great matchup tomorrow. Look, the LSU softball team is really damn good. So we're going to have our hands tied and we're going to have a really tough challenge. But look, this young Cajuns team, man, they grind. I watched a little bit of that game against Alabama on Saturday. That those girls don't quit. And I love that about them. And it really reflects on Allison Habits, her mentality, and she's so calm. You see her talk to her pitchers. You see the way she talks to the umpires. She can be intense, but at the same time, there's a sense of calm, and I like that about her. And I think our team plays off of that. So, no, man, it was just a great interview. And look, we need to do that more often. That was fun.
I agree. And look, Coach Allie, I'm sure I need to say Coach Habits, but I'm going to call her Coach Allie. Coach Allie is a Cajun with some Cajuns on staff, coaching some Cajuns to play for the Cajuns. They will always be gritty. They will always be hard-nosed. They're always going to play hard, regardless of the results. So couldn't be more happy to have Coach Habits on our side. But I agree with you, man. Look, and it's hard to hate on the program when you got such quality people on that side of the fence, right? I mean, we said that when we started interviewing coaches from other programs because our program won't let us interview our coaches. When we started interviewing coaches from other programs, they are so nice. You forget that even though they're your opponent and I'm the guy who hates the guy in the other dugout, man, when you meet them, it's hard to do that because they're just trying to do the same thing that we're doing. They're just trying to win and build a quality program, Jerry. That's hard once you meet them and get to know them.
Let me tell you, man, this is Rage and Review. All right. We have a reputation. We always go back and forth with the team across the basin. We always, give each other a hard time. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to brass tacks and business, I tip my hat off to the LSU SID department. They were outstanding. They answered our messages right away. Very, very gracious, very welcoming.
Showed up to the interview as well.
Showed up to the interview.
Make sure everything was good.
Yeah, I mean, we even joked with them. We're like, look, we give y'all a hard time, and we laughed about it. It's funny.
I think the exact wording is, I give your fans so much shit, I don't know how this is happening, is what I told him.
And what was his reaction? He just laughed.
He laughed. He thought it was great. But
yeah,
they're forward thinking, Jerry. They understand the value of non-traditional media and the outreach that we can have for them with our fans and their own fans. And
sure,
that's what's frustrating, man.
Well, let's just be honest. Rage and Review just interviewed an LSU head coach. Just put those words together and just try to fathom that. And, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And, I think that hopefully that's not the last time. And again, shout out to the LSU SID department that were very gracious with everything and very professional, and really, really cool to have them allow us to do that. And so, again, thanks to Coach Torina, thanks to Coach Girouard. I hope that's not Coach Girouard's last time here. I would love to have her on again.
We can't.
Yeah.
We gotta make this a regular thing. I don't
That's
know,
right.
Girouard's corner or something. Give her own space here, man. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
She's hilarious. But my favorite part of that whole interview, to be honest with you, was when she joined and Coach Torina's jaw dropped. If you go back and watch, her jaw dropped for like 5 seconds. Like, she's really here right now. So we really caught her off guard. I thought that was hilarious, man.
That was the plan, and it worked just well. I tell you, I love how you can definitely tell she's put her time in. When we talk about NIL, of course, Coach Torina has to be very careful on how she answers that because she's in the middle of that culture. You ask Yvette, she's just like, no, absolutely not.
Nope, not doing it. Wouldn't do it.
Wouldn't do it. Wouldn't touch it. And so, but it's like, look, she put her time in. She has a right to say that. And she's put her blood, sweat, and tears into both programs. It's not just our program. It's not just LSU's. I mean, she turned both of these programs into powerhouses. And so, I mean, she's at the point now where she's like, I'm done. I'm going to enjoy myself. I've put my work in. And when I go to the game, I'm just going to have a good time. But yeah,
I appreciate that.
That was great.
Look, this is, I usually, of course, don't do off the record stuff, but I don't think this was technically off the record because Coach Habit said, man, you didn't ask me for a good Coach G story. So she provided us with one after the fact. Let me go ahead and play that quick clip right now because I think this is one of my favorite parts of the whole interaction with those two today.
Good surprise. You guys got me there. You didn't
It worked.
You didn't give me a chance to tell any stories about G, though. I had a good one.
Go ahead.
You didn't
Feel
give
free.
me a chance. You know, I was going to say that she's probably going to leave in the 5th inning on Tuesday because she can. That's what she told me. The first game I ever coached here, I said, called her after the game and I said, what did you think? And she said, I don't know. I left in the 5th inning. And I said, what? And she said, yeah, because I can. I don't have to stay the whole time anymore. I'm retired.
I feel that.
That's when you know
you've
you've
put
put your.
inning on Tuesday night.
That's when you know you've put your time in. At that point, you're like, it's just like, hey, I'm enjoying this. Like she said, I'm a spectator. I'm enjoying the game, and no pressure.
Shoot, parking is tough at Girouard Field. You got to get out of there early. You want to get home decent time.
That's funny.
Yeah, that was great, Jerry. Just a little idea behind the scenes stuff that before we go on air or after we kind of have a debrief and a decompression session. But I thought that was super funny, so I had to share that.
Yeah,
I'm the same way though. Hey, I got to get home, man. I got to beat that traffic.
You're right. I mean, at the Girouard Field, parking's tough. It's a walk. It's a trek down to Cajun Field. So no, I totally understand. But again, I mean, she put her time. Coach Girouard put her time in. She's at the point now where, look, I'm going to enjoy the game and not have any worries in the world. You know, I guess when you have that much sweat equity into softball for what it was, 40 years.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, come on. I mean, you do what you want at this point. Get to go in the booth in the air condition and do the games on TV broadcasting.
She calls the shots, man.
Absolutely, and rightfully so.
Look at this guy with Coach HUD, Andy Thomas. What's up, man? Hey, ladies.
Was that the one where he got the tour of the facility for talking trash on social media?
Might be. That? Yeah, that's kind of what we do. We talk trash on social media.
And get invited for private tours after.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jerry, again, that was a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do it again. And again, we try to get coaches from our program on this podcast. We welcome it. We certainly hope that one day they will again realize the value that an SEC team does with coming on here and talking about their program and promoting their program. And, we'll see if that happens one day, Jerry. I'm not very optimistic there, but we are going to continue doing our thing and move right along. Andy Thomas said he didn't get the tour treatment with Marlon, sadly. Speaking of Coach Marlon, Yeah, Coach Marlin's replacement hired today, Quantus White, Jerry. We had heard a lot of rumblings about that, and you don't want to get on here and say, oh, here's what we're hearing here, because it might not be that person. And plus, you don't want to get involved in any of that stuff on social media. But we did hear that name for quite a while. That kept popping up. We heard other names in the process, but that one seemed to be recurring. Not really because of a leak. Or maybe, I don't know. Maybe, you heard things from people who were involved in the search. But
right.
I will say, I'm happy with this hire, man. You have a guy with a great pedigree. He's got some playing experience. He's got a ton of coaching experience. He's obviously a hell of a recruiter. And if you look on social media today, there is a lot of praise to him from a lot of people across the country that are, one, really sad that he's leaving Houston, and two, are saying, you guys got a hell of a basketball coach down in Lafayette. So I can't really go down deep into it because I don't know a lot about Coach White outside of what's on Wikipedia. But Jerry, your thoughts? I think it's a great hire. I think the reception has been great from Lafayette. I think he knows the game. He knows NIL. He comes from one of the best teams in college basketball right now. And that's what I said I wanted. Now, of course, they didn't base the hire out of what Nick Domang wants, but I said I want somebody who's coming off a national championship, who's part of a great program, just somebody who, when you say where they're coming from, there is a pedigree attached to that. I think we got that with Quantus White. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no doubt. I think first of all, I'm like you. We'd heard in the background for about a month or so that he was the big name that we were really, really targeting. But you got to remember too, you don't always land feet first with your first choice. And so when you're at a school like Houston and you're getting paid the money you're getting paid, and you have the success that you have, who knows, maybe an ACC job or maybe a lower tier SEC job or a Big Ten job opens up. Somewhere like a UH is a place where they're going to look for assistance. And so for me, I was always kind of in the mindset of we're going after Quantus. So I got to learn more about him. I saw that he's from New Orleans. He played at St. Aug, so he understands the recruiting area there. So he probably has a lot of Louisiana ties. Coached at Tulane, coached at Western Kentucky for a little while. And then he's been at Houston for about a decade now. So and he's learning under the best. Kelvin Sampson is by far one of the best college basketball coaches ever. Played for him at Oklahoma, made the Final Four under him as a player. So he's also a player's coach. And, seeing the outcry of excitement for our hire from people from Houston, former players, coaches, there's a lot of great words that have been expressed for Coach Q. And as we all, that's what we call him, Coach Q, notice on social media. But look, I think if we wanted a splash hire, this was a splash hire. Let's be honest. Now, I don't know what Houston's going to do in the next few weeks, but there's some prognosticators, Nick, that have them going to the Final Four. So you obviously are coming from a Final Four caliber type team, and you played a big role in recruiting those players to Houston, right? That's a huge factor for us, because my mindset is, well, hell, if he can do that at Houston and he's a local guy from New Orleans, that's golden for us. And, I've always said going into the coaching search, and Nick, I know you mess with me because you're tired of me saying it, but, I am curious to see if Q's going to embrace the community. I think because now with NIL, we know how to make sales pitches in Acadiana, and a lot of it's face-to-face. You can't spam email a sales pitch for NIL money, right? You're going to have to go and knock on doors. And I'm hoping that's the one thing that I am curious to see what Q can do. Can he do that? And will he do that? And I think with the knowledge of basketball that he has and coaching at a school like Houston that has money, and obviously you have to entertain your donors outside of, Mr. Fertitta there, that's going to be part of the job. And so I know the commitment from what I was told. There was a commitment from the athletic department to help them with NIL. I know they've been kind of lacking on that over the last couple of years, especially in basketball. We've been kind of making a push for football there, but they're going to have to do what baseball does. If you've noticed what Matt Deggs has done with the NIL, they've been very, very front and center for trying to promote NIL in the local area. And I think basketball is going to have to do the same, not just with the same 10 people, but with the entire community. And if you got a guy like Quantus White with the pedigree that he brings, and he goes out in the community and sells it and has people help him, I think he can bring in the money and bring in the athletes to win. I mean, obviously the players love him. The Houston players love him, and players choose to go to Houston because of people like him. So I'm excited about it. I did hear that there's a lot of people now that I've talked to buying season tickets again, me included. I'm going to be buying some season tickets next year, going to the games. I can't make every game, but I'm going to do it out of principle and support this program. And I'm excited to see what happens. By the way, guys, Nick, I don't know, I think I told you this earlier, but if you're curious, there is a press conference, an introductory press conference next Monday on St. Patrick's Day at noon at the baseball club, the club level. So I don't know if it's open to the public, but I'm sure they'll be streaming it. So they will officially introduce Quantus White as the Louisiana basketball head coach Monday, March 17th at noon. So I might try to make it if I'm not too busy. Go say hi and congratulate him. And no, it's a great hire, man. I think it's what this program needs, Nick. That's what I think. I think this program needed a hire like that.
Yeah, we needed a shot of adrenaline. By the way, when you're there, make sure you video the interview so that we can post it here and piss everybody. What are they going to do, Jerry? Throw you out of the? Yeah, no, just do it.
I'll film that too. And we'll go viral with it. I mean, I'll go full fledged. What's it called? What do they call the Hollywood paparazzi people?
Yeah, paparazzi. Do it, man.
I'll go full rage. It's going to be Rage and Review TMZ.
Exactly. And Andy pointed out you're never busy, so you will be there. I totally agree with you, Andy. You mentioned Fertitta. I mean, I'm joking about this, but, we don't have a Landry's in Lafayette, so Fertitta is welcome to bring some of that money over here. But, I mean, having that Fertitta relationship at U of H is a perfect opportunity for Coach White to look at. I mean, you're not going to have somebody in the Lafayette area that's going to be... that's going to be a billionaire and be able to write a blank check. But you do have some folks in town with very successful businesses with a lot of money ready to donate. They just got to be asked. And my hope is that you may and I don't want to throw any names out there, but you have a big jeweler in the area that is worldwide. And there's an opportunity there. Or, there are opportunities all over Acadiana that you can connect with and get those type of donors to support your program. So my hope is that, and I have no doubt that Coach White or Coach Q will do that. We'll reach out to the community. And by the way, Jerry, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and buy season tickets too. I mean, I might not ever make a game, but I will. I'll buy a season ticket so I can get certain people in the department to get off my ass about buying tickets to games. So I'll buy some basketball season tickets, Jerry.
But here's the good news, Nick. We can always turn that into like a charity thing or something, or we can do like a ticket giveaway through Nick. It'll be Nick's.
There you go. We'll give it a funny name. Nick's something.
Yeah, exactly. And look, and the thing is, let's be honest. Brian, wow. I love you too, Andy. I love you too, man.
Yeah, me too, Andy. Jerry does call me at all hours of the day going, hey, man, I'm so busy today. I can't make this meeting, but hey, let's talk for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I know. It's always certain. My schedule's all over the place. But anyway, look, when Brian Maggard went on the press conference after we cut ties with Coach Bob Marlin, and he said that one of the main reasons why we made a change was because of fan apathy.
Who said it first? Who said it
first?
Oh,
we've been saying that for 5 years,
yep.
Right? We've been saying that for 5 years, but when the athletic director goes on and says there's fan apathy, basically that's a way of saying that we have no fan support. And the fans, regardless of wins or losses, the fans have given up on this staff. They've given up.
When the athletic director says it, it's gold. When we say it, we're just bad fans.
Oh yeah, no. We've only been saying that for 5 or 6 years, but anyway. So now that the athletic department made that commitment to make the change, and they hired a coach who is a big name. And he's a splash hire from a really good, prominently basketball school. I ask fans, I'm just going to say it to Cajun Nation, buy your tickets. Buy season tickets. If you can't buy season tickets, buy the package where you get this. What is it, Nick? The half the season.
Yeah.
The 6 or 7 games you choose, and go support this team. Go support this team. I think. Look, I'm going to be really curious as to how Quantus White presents himself at the introductory meeting. What's his message going to be? Is it going to be, I'm here to win. Is it going to be, we need help with NIL? Is it going to be like when Allison Habits came? I mean, she kicked the door down and said, well, I'm here to win a natty. Matt Deggs in his opening press conference says, let's go through the gates of Omaha. I mean, what's the message going to be next Monday? And if the message is, we want to be a Cinderella, we want to be a team that goes to the tournament every year, we want to be a team that surprises people in the Sweet 16, people are going to buy that. People are going to get excited about that. People are going to buy tickets because, and I hate to go in the past, but Nick, athletics is a sales pitch. That's what it is, right? When you have previous coaches saying, well, we can't do this, we can't do that, we're a one bid league, we don't have money, we don't have resources. If you're trying to sell me to support your program, is that really the sales pitch to get me to spend my money and buy tickets?
Especially when instead of spending your time here and getting to know the community, you go out to your beach house and invite your coaches over there to stay there with you because, it's not your job.
So that's the message I'm going to be looking for with Coach Quantas White in his press conference is what is the message going to be and what are our goals and what if he can sell the press conference and say that, hey, I'm here to kick the door down and be another Memphis, the community is going to embrace that and they will give it a shot. But if it's going to be, well, we don't have this, we don't have that, they're not. So look, this guy, he's an assistant coach at Houston, top 5 program, top 10 program. He knows how to win. He knows how to win. So I'm not too worried about it. And I know he's probably really excited. And look, he's a local guy. He's from 2 hours down the road. He probably knows the area very well, the recruiting base very well. Hey, I'm in. I'm ready to go. I'm excited. And congratulations to Coach Q.
I appreciate what Jesse Lonklow said, Robichaux said in his job interview here. Here's what I need to win a national championship. That's what you got to think somebody like Quantas White is not going to come and take a job in Lafayette, Louisiana, if he's not getting what he needs to be successful here. That's my perspective. My perspective, and you said it too, that the university maybe committed some money or some funds or certain things to him in the NIL space, probably assistant coaching space. But Quantas White would not be here if he was not guaranteed some of the things he needs to do for him to be successful that he has seen at U of H, which has been one of the best teams in the country the last few years. That's what gets me excited, Jerry. They could have easily taken someone, someone else without the high pedigree, but at a lesser cost. Yeah. And I think that is why I am excited about this hire, is because someone like him is not going to come here cheaply. You're going to have to pay up to get those to reap the benefits of a good program.
And Nick, look at it this way, right?
Unmute yourself, Jerry.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay.
Oh, it might be me. Go ahead.
Okay. All good. And I actually know some people who are who communicate with the coaching world in basketball. And I'm not saying that as a brag, but I'm saying that as somebody who kind of followed this whole coaching search on what people were hearing in the coaching side of things, not what we were seeing on fan forums or Twitter. Right. And there was an attitude and a perception of Quantas that, maybe this job isn't big enough for him. Maybe he needs to go somewhere bigger, and he's got potential to go to a bigger school than say Louisiana. And so if that's the perception where, this job was maybe a little too small for him based on his pedigree and we got him, you sold me.
I'm good with that, man.
And this is from coaches. This isn't from boosters or donors or fans. These are from coaches that are like, why would he? And I'm not degrading the UL basketball program by any stretch. It's the fact that people think highly of him and think highly enough of him to say, maybe he should go take a job at a Big 12 school. Maybe he should go take a job somewhere in the ACC. But instead, he's here. And so we got a good I mean, I'll take that all day if people are saying that about him.
There's a kid in my neighborhood that is a starter at Colorado. And he told me, like we were texting the other day, he was asking me because he knows some kids on the current team. He always checks in. He always gives me shit when we lose, never texts me when we win, but he'll always text me back and forth. And he said, if Coach White, because he was being recruited at one point, at the University of Houston. He's like, man, I love Coach White. If he ever goes there, I might become a Raging Cajun. And I kind of, jokingly texted today. I'm like, you entered the transfer portal yet, bro? And he's like, it might be soon, man. So no, but that would be, that just goes to show you there's a lot of respect for him across the country. Like I said, I am excited. And you know what I'm thinking, Jerry? Maybe, how we do a silly segment at the end of every episode? Maybe on Thursday, we could come up with a list of things that Quannas White will not say at his press conference. Like, I'll give you an example. Teams aren't going to want to play here at the Cajun Dome because of Quannas White. That is a good example of some things that Quannas White will not say at his press conference. So start thinking about it, man. Maybe we get our fans involved, because I know there's a lot of there are a lot of quotes out there, some about Tobacco Plus, that may come up and haunt us during that segment. So, but that would be kind of funny.
Somebody made a comment under the status when UL tweeted out his hiring. One of the Raging Burners made a comment. At least we won't have to see a timeout being called right after a good run on the court. I saw that.
That would have been perfect. They'd be like, hey, we just made a big run. Let's call timeout. It was a good time. So I think maybe let's think about that, Jerry. I think that would be a good segment that might go viral. It'd entertain me, if anybody. I don't know. I'll piss everybody else off. Andy Thomas chiming in. Program still carries some weight more than we give it credit. I agree, man.
No doubt.
We look at it from a microscopic perspective because we're in it all the time. We're always thinking about Raging Cajun sports. We're always, thinking about the things we can improve on. I will tell you, we do take it for granted, because I'll tell you, when we talk to some folks at McNeese or Northwestern or State or even a South Alabama or a Kennesaw State, for example, when we talk to those folks, they all say, man, we always say we want to be like Louisiana. And then we get on here and we complain about everything. It's not because we don't put the value on our program, because truly this program it's worth more than I think our own administration and school gives it credit for. Not only us, but I think our school doesn't promote it as much as they should, because we are something that people want to be, especially in our, I guess, non-Power 4 schools. We do a lot of great things, and we take that for granted because we're in the middle of it. But no, I agree with you. I mean, look at one of the things that the kid in my neighborhood said was like, hey, let me check out your arena before I commit to Coach Q. And then I sent him a picture. He's like, oh, man, I'm there. Sign me up tomorrow, So we have impressive facilities. We have a commitment from our athletic director to improve and continue to build on those facilities and get the money for those types of things. We just got to get the small things right, man. And I think that's where we get caught up in the drama, is that there are just so many small things that we still need to work on. And, it's not taking away from the program. We know what we have, and we know where we've been, Jerry. I mean, think about the 80s and 90s being fans of this university. It was tough, bro.
Well, I think also too, Nick, is we need to really see how good we can really be. And Andy brings up a good point there when it comes to our potential. What is our potential? What's our ceiling? And I think in basketball, we've seen in the last couple of years, we've seen a coach that, he just got older. Not, everybody ages, but I think there was also a huge sense of complacency. And that was, to me, what brought up the apathy and brought down the expectations of basketball, and why we were so vocal about it. Because, I understand. Look, I get it's a one-bid league in the Sun Belt. I get all that. That shouldn't stop you from not being able to compete at a certain level. I think we can compete at. And I'm talking, going like the year we won 27 games, we lost to a last place SEC team by 18 points. So it's like, yeah, we won these 27 games, but against who, right? I'd rather win less against better quality opponents than go win all these games,
because it makes you better for next year. It gets you better recruiting. It builds on something. It's not all smoke and mirrors to say, look at all the wins we have. Yeah, but they're crap wins. Not to take anything away from the teams, but you gotta, I'm ready to enter an era of UL basketball that is not smoke and mirrors and not the guy in Iraq, Baghdad Bob going, everything is fine, nobody's invading us, as we're literally invading in the background. I'm ready for it to be a new generation of fans, ready for it to be new energy pumped into the stadium. I'm excited about it, man.
Yeah, we just I will say, and that's one thing. Another thing I'll look for with Coach Q is how does he flip the script? How does he flip the perception? What again in the press conference? What are our expectations, and what is his goals? What are our goals? Is it to make the dance every once in a while, or make the dance every year and get lucky and maybe win a game? Or is it, hey, we're going to the Sweet 16. We're going to be what Memphis is doing. That's what we can do.
If
but
Frank Williams-Wade can go over to McNeese and win like he has won in the last 2 years in the freaking Southland Conference in Lake Charles, and we're bringing over Quantus White.
That's my point.
I promise you, some of the LSU fans that stick around after watching our interview with Coach Torina probably wish that they would have fired McMahon and taken Quantus White.
Yeah. And then, again, I just go back to when Hud first took the job. He said, he would sell it in these local meetings and stuff to the local communities. Like, I have a vision. And my vision is we're celebrating a Cajun field because we just beat Troy or whoever in our Sunbelt Conference championship game, and we're celebrating going to the New Orleans Bowl for the first time ever. I mean, this is coming off a 3-9 season. This is coming off a time when we hadn't been to a bowl game in 40-something years. Now, the mindset's different now, but back then, we didn't know what a bowl game was like. We didn't know what winning 9 games were like, but he had that vision, and he sold that to a bunch of people that just experienced a 3-9 season. So to me, that's kind of what Quantus is going to have to do. He's going to have to sell that and say, look, I have this vision. I picture the Cajun Dome having 5,000-6,000 people. Oh, yeah, that's Andy's BFF. I have the vision of the Cajun Dome having 5,000 or 6,000 people. I have a vision of the community and the student section being rowdy behind the goal. I have a vision of us cutting down the nets, going to a game in March. I have a vision of being a bracket buster. Look, some of it may be hard to obtain. Some of it may not even be real, but you got to sell it. You got to sell it and at least try for it. Try to aim for it. And I think if you do that, people are going to embrace that around here. People want to win. Everybody wants to win. But winning 25 games against lower tier Southland schools ain't going to cut it. You got to look, go be that next Memphis. And so I'm looking forward to what he says in that presser next week.
This song is for Andy Thomas since he loves HUD so much. If you know, you know. Jerry, today was a lot of fun, man. We had a good time. It was a good day for not only Rage and Review, but also for our fans and for the university. I think today is a good day. And yeah, man, unless you have anything else, we can close it out. But I kind of want to go to bed and go to sleep before anything bad happens because we're on such a high today. But again, I just want to stress how great Coach Torina, Coach Girouard were. That was a big deal for me personally, not just us as a podcast, but getting Coach Girouard on for me was a big deal. And, we got to watch this without Cajunomics tonight because we stream for free, baby. So if you are an LSU fan watching, feel free to add, subscribe, and like, or talk shit to me on Twitter like you already do. More interactions, the better. Jerry, I'll let you give final thoughts and then we'll close it out.
Somebody made a comment about a week or so ago. Oh, it's like 3 losers. It's Nick, it's that Matt guy, and it's that one guy who nobody knows about, but they're all losers. So I guess I'm the mystery man, whatever, Or
maybe it's Lane. I don't know. Maybe it depends Lane, where they watched. It could be you or Lane the loser, but who knows?
But I just want to say, no, again, to Coach Torina, to Coach Girouard, thank you so much. Special thanks to the LSU SID department for allowing this interview to happen. We really appreciate that. Again, very gracious. Going to be a great
Andy already reported us, by the way. Andy reported us, I guess, illegal streaming, right?
Darn.
Might have to throw up that graphic once again.
And look, I look forward to a good softball matchup in Baton Rouge between the Cajuns and the Tigers. Always going to be fun. And then also, we have some midweek baseball. Baseball tomorrow night, against Southern. And Wednesday, we have to put our revenge against the Cowboys after all the trash talking we got from their midweek win against us. And I I think they're still
talking. They have fans, bro.
I think
never
they're
seen them on
still
social media.
they're still throwing beads from their midweek victory parade against us a few weeks ago in Lake Charles. So
Don't be that guy. Now you sound like LSU fans. Biggest
well, I
game
mean,
of
look,
their-
we apparently we've created a relationship with the LSU folks. So hey, I'm going to add a little bit of that rhetoric in there for fun. But anyway, now we'll be back later this week to talk about the Troy
we'll
series.
be back. We'll preview that series. Might have a coach on. Obviously not from UL because we can't do that, but might have an interview coming your way. We'll do our best for that. But yeah, working on great things here at Rage and Review, Jerry.
As we always say, man, get ready. We got a lot of big things coming here.
All right, boys and girls, appreciate you joining in. Again, like, follow, subscribe. We need to get to 500 followers on YouTube, because once we cross that bridge, then we can do some really fun stuff. But that's up to you to subscribe. So please tell your mama and them and T-Nana to subscribe to the Rage and Review.
Even if you don't
podcast.
like us and you want to comment and troll us, subscribe.
Go for it,
Troll
man.
us while subscribing.
They don't even realize how much that helps us.
Yeah.
All right, for my boy Jerry, for the other boys who are not here, I am Nick with the Rage and Review podcast. Hope you have a great rest of your night. And until next time, go Cajuns.